Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, good night, hello, wherever you're calling from. Welcome to the Actors. Oh, no, not the Actors area. The Money Cure. Look at that. When you do multiple podcasts, you have a tendency to get them all mixed up. But welcome to The Money Cure, as the book itself stares me right in the face. I'm your host, Reverend Sean Robert Grant. Hope you guys are feeling absolutely wonderful. Thank you for tuning in. We're very happy to have you with us today. Great episode as always. First and foremost, getting into it, guys. Excuse me one second. Oh, much better. Okay. As always, guys, if you are in need of any type of advice, any help, anything I can do within reason, I am more than happy to help you. And so reach out to me if you need through email. I blank for a second. Through email at shaung04@gmail.com. And I will get back to you as soon as I possibly can. I'm available on social medias as well, anyone you can think of. But, if you really want to get to me directly, send me a message over at shaung04@gmail.com, and I will get back to you as soon as I possibly can. So let's get into our message today. Infinite supply, the walkthrough of infinite supply. And so I'm going to just be honest with you. I love this concept. I love talking about this concept. I love being able to break into pieces this concept and teach this concept, because here's the thing. Here's the reality. If I can point you in the direction of the truth of infinite supply, you will never lack for anything in your life, not just money, but anything that you may need or desire. The truth of the matter is, when you really discover the concept of infinite supply, you do not need, desire, or want anything, because you know that it's yours. And so we're going to get into that actually right now. So do me a favor. Everything you've learned about money up to this point, just kind of put it on pause for a bit, because what I'm going to teach you is a bit different than probably what you've heard. But I know through experience, I know through revelation, I know through divine insight, intuitive guidance, that it works, and it works better than anything you can imagine. And I'm sitting here on a podcast talking about money after manifesting high six figures in income this year, buying my dream home with my wife, and just being able to live the life that I choose. And so I throw that in there because I just don't want you to think I'm just some dude sitting up here talking without having any evidence to back it up. So I want you to know, like, this stuff works. And if you really need to know proof, I will happily send you a copy of my bank statement to show you that I'm for real and legit. And so, like I said, I just wanted to throw that in there. But let's get into it. Infinite supply. And what is infinite supply? Infinite supply is basically having everything that you could choose to have in an overflow, in a surplus, in an abundance, without the need without the need of having to worry, having to be concerned, having to be stressed out. And for the sake of the Money Cure, we're going to talk about money today. Okay? But it relates to every single thing else as well as money. So once again, infinite supply is the ability to know that you have an extreme, an infinite, abundant level, right? Every resource, every bit of money you could ever choose to live the highest expression, the highest timeline of your life. You have it. You have it. You have it. Okay. Now, here's where the issue comes in. Most people don't believe that because they can't visibly and physically and tangibly see it and feel it. Right. One of the biggest challenges when we talk about infinite supply and having an abundance of money, or financial abundance and prosperity, is most folks think that they have to see the money in order to get to the ability to identify themselves as financially free or financially independent. But the reality is it's the other way around, right? So one of my biggest struggles with infinite supply was I had a hard time believing something that I couldn't see. And so it was just like, okay, you tell me that there's money all over the universe and there's divine substance flying through the air, but how am I supposed to believe that when I can't really see it and there's no evidence of it in my accounts or in my possession whatsoever? Well, here's the beautiful thing about the idea of consciousness. And just to give you a little background on consciousness, if you're listening for the first time, consciousness is how we think, ultimately how we think and how we feel. And then how we think and how we feel leads to how we behave. So if we can create a God consciousness, a wealth consciousness, a money consciousness, our actions are automatically going to move from a place into a place that's going to create more wealth, more money, more essence of God, which is complete and in utter infinite abundance, right? So if you're having the same issue that I did, what you got to understand, first thing you come to the understanding of is this: does the universe lack in anything? Does the infinite, does God lack in anything? Okay? And you ask yourself that. And the reality is absolutely not. Not even anything in the least bit, not even anything, even a small amount. It does not lack of anything. To make this, to drive this point even home further, drive it further home, think about the material world is only 0.0000001% of the universe, right? If you think about the entire material, physical third dimension, it's only 0.00001. I don't know how many zeros, but literally as big as the material dimension is, and it's only that size. It's only that size. And we're talking about galaxies. We're talking about, planets and Milky Ways and all types of stuff. And yet it's only a very, very minute percentage of the universe. So that shows you right there. That's one idea to show you that the universe is not lacking at all whatsoever. Now, if you take a spiritual approach to it, which I did and do, and it helps me tremendously, I get to the understanding that God, there is no lack in God. There's no lack in the mind of God. There's no lack in the spirit of God. There's no lack in any way, shape, or form as it relates to God. And so what does that tell us? Well, as spiritual beings, we are the highest form of expression of God. We are made in the image and likeness of God, which means if God is us and we are God, then we lack nothing because God lacks nothing. Okay? I want to say that again. If we are God and God is us, and God lacks nothing, God is omnipotent, which is all powerful, omniscient, which is all knowing, omnipresent, which is all ever present everywhere. God is all those things. That means that we are all those things. And if we are all those things, there is no lack, period. Right? And the only time lack shows up is when we take our divine ability to create and focus on it. So getting back to what I was saying before, I was having trouble. I was struggling until I got to this point to realize, you know what? If there's no lack in God, there can't be any lack within me, even if I cannot see it. And that's when the most pivotal, powerful concept stepped in. I'm going to choose to have faith that there is no lack. And better yet, let's do a proactive statement. I'm going to choose to have faith that there is only abundance in God, meaning there is only abundance within me, right? And I said, all I need to do is learn one truth at a time. I learned that truth. I almost knocked over my mic. I learned that truth. I embraced it. I carried it out. I acted on it. I did every possible thing I could to get that truth down into my subconscious mind. And guess what? It began to manifest in my life exactly how it was. I began to look and all of a sudden have a completely shift in perception. Sometimes when I was thinking, oh, well, I'm limited. I don't have all that I need, or I'm lacking in stuff, only to realize that I was never lacking in anything. Even when I look back in the past and look back into my childhood, when I thought I was poor, when I thought I was impoverished, I was actually more abundant than I could have ever even imagined. And that's how the consciousness started to work. It started to pretty much salvage these times in my life when I felt like I was in lack, to really help me to see that I wasn't in lack at all. It's like my wildest fantasies and desires may not have been met, but my needs were met. I had food, I had clothing, I had shelter, I had the highest form of education. I had, a family that cared and loved me, and I had friends. I had all this amazing stuff. And when I shifted, the divine began to take me back to those times to show me how infinitely abundant I was, how much infinite supply was right then and there, because it wanted to show me. It wanted to say, Sean, you just misperceiving the abundance in your life. It's always been there. And I'm saying the same thing to you guys. The abundance has always been there. It is there now. You just got to make sure you take the right perception and have the right amount of faith. Because you got to have faith, the faith. I love that song. But when you do have faith, faith is what makes things show up in your life in a way that is more pronounced, right? So let's say, for instance, you're struggling financially right now, and it never seems like there's enough, right? And there's so many different aspects to this, which is why I recommend you listening to a lot of the episodes we have, because I've covered just about all of it. And I will continue to do so because it's important, not just for you guys, but for me to teach it, to be able to learn it more and more. You go through all of this, I guess, the road to abundance per se. And, you come to find like there is, one, you got to be committed. Two, you got to be patient with yourself. You got to be loving, kind, and compassionate as well. And three, you got to understand, just like we talked about in the last episode, how the universe works in cycles. Okay? And once you do that, you can then be ready to really understand and really pinpoint where the abundance, the infinite supply is in your life. Okay? Once you realize that, once you realize where it is, you realize that you've never really lacked before, and you never have lacked, because it is impossible to lack. Lack is an illusion, which means it's a perception, it's a misperception, and it's done under the pretense of someone or something that is not indicative of the truth, that is not indicative of the divine truth. And the divine truth is you couldn't find lack if you tried, yet a lot of us tend to want to try over and over and over again. Okay? So getting back to the whole idea of the walkthrough of infinite supply. So once we understand that basic foundational principle, that if there's no lack in God, if there's no lack in the universe, then there's no lack in me. And then now all of a sudden I've got to plant that seed. In our last episode, we talked about planting the seed, watering the seed, allowing the seed to blossom. When that seed begins to blossom, then you begin to see in your life the evidence of the faith that you placed forth within your life. And it becomes a situation where it is just powerful, yet enjoyable to watch abundance show up so clearly and evidently before your very eyes. It's one thing to be ignorant to it. It's one thing to see it indirectly or to go back and see it. It's another thing to watch it manifest right in front of your face. And that gets back to knowing that abundance is for everybody. The presence of God is for everyone to experience infinite abundance. The universe is for everyone and everything in creation to experience infinite abundance, right? And guess what? It's no different when it comes to money, right? It's no different when it comes to money. The reality is money is just an expression of that abundance. When you have that abundance in your consciousness, right? If you told yourself, and you studied the idea that there's only abundance in God, you would produce money. You would produce money in ways that you wouldn't even begin to think that you could right now. But the reality is because your consciousness has shifted and placed more of a focus and an attention on the principle and the concept of abundance, it's going to show up in the form of money. It's going to show up in the form of resources. It's going to show up in the form of every single thing that you need to, once again, have the highest expression of fulfillment within your life, the highest creative expression that God wants for you. It's going to show up, right? But we have to make sure that our consciousness is rooted in that concept of invisible or infinite supply. There's a book out there, and it's one of my favorites. It's called Invisible Supply by Joel Goldsmith. And if you really want to dive into this topic, this is an amazing book because Joel Goldsmith has made this his life work. And he explains it so well, and I've learned a lot from him. But if you really want to dive into it, he really gets into it. One of the things that he says that I think is so profound is he mentions that infinite supply is a feeling. It's not necessarily a thing, right? Money, cars, houses, resources, all that stuff are expressions of supply, but they're not really the supply. The real supply is in you. It's about how you feel. It's about how you think. It's about how you act eventually, right? So if you could get that, once again, truth and principle into your belief system, you can do some amazing things. And it's not even a sense that it's amazing. It's just you're tapping into something that was already yours, but you've been led to believe something different. So I'm going to tell you this, and then I'm going to get ready to sign off. At the end of the day, when it comes down to the idea of money, and it comes down to the idea of financial abundance and being financially free, it has nothing to do with anything physical. Nothing to do with anything physical at all. And that's kind of a head scratcher because most people think, well, what about your 401ks and your savings account and your investments and all this stuff? Don't get me wrong. That stuff is important, but that stuff comes after you build the consciousness of infinite supply, right? That stuff comes after your way of thinking and feeling are aligned with being rich, prosperous, and wealthy, right? But the reality is it's an inside job, right? It's an inside job. And you begin to see how things are affected in your life when you shift on the inside. So what I want to leave you with today, and I know it's going to change your life because it changed my life. Find an opportunity, and I'm going to give you the option to do this in a way that you learn best. You may learn best by reciting something out loud over and over again, right? You may learn something best by writing it down over and over again. You may learn something best by listening to it on a recorder over and over again, or the voice memo if you have the iPhone or Android. Anyway, what I want you to do is I want you to get into your subconscious mind, impregnate, plant the seed in your subconscious mind that infinite supply is mine and it unfolds for me easily and effortlessly. Okay? Infinite supply is mine and it unfolds for me easily and effortlessly. Infinite supply is mine and it unfolds for me easily and effortlessly. Okay? And when you get that statement down into your consciousness, right, you're going to tap in to the flow, and all of a sudden you'll begin to see more and more expressions of abundance show up in your life just by subconsciously realizing that statement I just gave you. And that's the number one way to start. And like I said, if you have any questions, I'm here to help you. Send me a message at SeanG04@gmail.com. Guys, that wraps up today's package, today's episode. I hope you have a wonderful night, day, morning, wherever you are, wherever your blessings find you. And I will get back to you will I get back to you? Yeah, I will get back to you if you write to me. But what I'm trying to say is I will talk to you soon on the next episode. Thank you so much for joining us. It is an absolute pleasure as always. We'll talk soon. Thanks so much. Take care. Bye-bye.